Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tip. Max here with you to talk about some injury prone players and are they worth their average draft position right now. The main factor in the top 5 to 10 rounds I like to focus on is risk management. For example, if your team includes Sidney Crosby, Zach Werenski, Mark Stone, and Aaron Ekblad, sure, depending on the format, they are great players, but we all know their injury history, and stacking up on injury prone players is not something I would recommend. Sometimes it's better to go with a safer floor than a higher ceiling early on. I'd rather swing on guys like Tyler Seguin and Chris Kreider in the later rounds than do my risky picks earlier on. Fortunately for Sidney Crosby and managers, he's got 3 full seasons in a row where he's gotten above 90 points each year, so we will not dive in too far into him. For the record, I love Crosby's ADP at 37. Late third, early fourth round if you haven't drafted a center beforehand in a 12-man format is sure value if he remains healthy, which he has. Alright, the first name on the official list is Jack Hughes. Ranked 15th on Yahoo with an ADP of 20. Fantasy Pros have him at 13, and if you know me by now, you know what I'm about to say. Only once in his first 6 seasons did Jack Hughes play over 63 games. We talked about risk management. This is a great example. Hughes has the potential for Nathan McKinnon-like numbers, but injuries derail his plans every year. You can't be drafting a guy in the top 20 who more than often misses more than a quarter of the season. This could be his year where he breaks the 100-point barrier for the first time. There's a lot to like here, especially with the dual position and who he'll be surrounded by, but the risk factor is too high. Skip out on Jack Hughes in the first round and probably the first round and a half to 2 rounds. It's a hard no for me. Matthew Tkachuk is expected to be out until at least mid-December. The fact he is being drafted inside the top 25 right now is kind of crazy to me, and I'm hoping GMs in my leagues do this mistake. Sure, he's got 3 straight cup finals in the last 3 years, which means he's played a lot of hockey, maybe a little too much, which is why he starts the year on IR. I'm a little scared they'll even delay his return until 2026, but drafting Tkachuk is not all bad. If you can draft him past pick 40, 45, then it becomes a gamble you can win by season's end. His peripherals are really good. He shoots 3 times per game with the occasional hit or 2 every game. He's godly on the power play, having got 91 power play points while missing 35 games since joining the Panthers in 2022. In my opinion, overall, a great draft and hold, but not in the top 3 rounds of a 12-team format. Elias Pettersson up next. This is one of the hardest players to rank. 2 years removed from a 102-point breakout. We've seen a drop-off to 89 points, followed by 45 points in 64 games last season. NHL.com has him ranked 138th. Fantasy Pros have him ranked 156th. And he's currently being drafted around pick 80 by the average manager. Okay, so the good thing is he can't be as bad as he was last year. The bad thing is Vancouver is in better than they were. He'll probably play on a boomer bust first line with Jake DeBrusk and Brock Baser. I expect 65 to 70 points. Last year was terrible, but he kind of got some of his game back when GT Miller was traded. Pettersson got 4 goals, 6 assists, 10 points in the last 9 games of the season, which could be a sign of what's to come. My final preview on him, I'm going to say I personally won't be drafting him in the top 100 because I do have a little bias against the Canucks, and I most likely will be aiming for a defenseman in most leagues between picks 80th and 100th. But I'm honestly okay with his ADP. It's not a bad gamble. He could be a top 50 option. The guy did get above 100 points in 2023. We're not that far off removed. He is only 26 years old, and he did get above a point per game by the end of the season. Another positive is his double eligibility with center and left wing. I think that elevates his value enough to claim his ADP is not too crazy. Valeri Nichushkin with an ADP of 89. Here's a guy I'm super high on at the right price. Yes, he's missed at least 20 games in the last 4 years, but he's not a top 6 round pick. At this stage of the draft, you can start throwing little Hail Marys like this one. Even if he misses a significant amount of games, you want a guy like Nichushkin in your squad come playoff time. Even if I don't draft him, I think he's a guy I would target for a trade in season when and if he goes down with injury. The reason? He gets playing time with Nathan MacKinnon. Last year, in 43 games only, he got 21 goals and 34 points moving around the top 6. Jonathan Drouin is gone. Landeskog is a bit rusty, which kind of opens up a spot on the PP1. Mac, Cale Makar, Martin Necas are the only sure PP1 staples in my opinion right now. They do have a lot of good options, including Brock Nelson, Victor Olofsson, and Archie Lehkonen, but it's his spot to win. His rankings across platforms are 82nd on NHL.com, 280 on Yahoo, and 113 average on Fantasy Pros. And even they had an expert pick him at number 80 and another expert at 138. This shows that it isn't a consensus pick, and a lot of people have different opinions about Nichushkin. I have to go on the manager's side right now. If you can get a guy like Nichushkin around pick 100, you got an extremely high ceiling if he somehow plays more than 65 games this year. It's not out of the realm of possibility that he gets between 35 and 40 goals in a full season. I like Nichushkin. I recommend the risk about around his ADP. The next guy is Mark Stone. Year after year, I get him in the later rounds, and year after year, he delivers until he disappears until the next season. You have to know what you get into if you get Mark Stone. You get a top 60 player who averages just about a point per game, 2 shots per game, and 2 blocks every 3 games, which is good for a forward. The media have him ranked between picks 125 and 138. His ADP is going right in there at 134. Everybody seems to agree on this one, and I'll give it a thumbs up. Playing alongside Jack Eichel, his main focus will be staying healthy. If you can snag him between picks 135 and 150, you have an incredible threat at your disposal. A point per game player going at an ADP of 185, count me in. Sean Monahan last year played 54 games, scoring 19, assisting 38 for 57 points. The issue here is he's only played 162 games since 2022, which makes a lot of people redundant on drafting him. In a team that contains Adam Fantilli, Cole Sillinger, and many more youngsters, it's Monahan who took the consensus #1 center in Columbus last year. He's an absolute threat on the power play, and even when he returned from his 28-game absence due to wrist injury, he got 16 points in the last 13 games of the season, picking up right where he left off. Yahoo ranks him at 262, Fantasy Pros have him at 127, and NHL.com has him as the 107th best fantasy player. He's currently going at ADP of 185, and should be an absolute steal for depth on your fantasy team. I would reach for him a little bit if I'm low on center, around pick 155 to 160. At this point in the draft, if you lose him during the year, it's not a huge loss. It would be a lot harder to replace Jack Hughes at an ADP of 20 than Sean Monahan at an ADP of 185. Now on to defensemen. Zach Werenski is my D2 on my ranking board this year. I've loved Werenski for years now. It's hard to ignore his injury history, but most of them were really bad luck. A knee-on-knee that would have taken out anyone, nose fracture from a puck he got to the face, and a few other unlucky breaks. Last year was his first full season since 2019, and he exploded. 82 points in 81 games with 23 goals. Surprisingly, only 25 of those points came on the power play. Werenski got 298 shots and 131 blocks. That makes him an elite option that almost no other defenseman apart from Cale Makar can compete. Zach Werenski is the only injury-prone option I definitely recommend inside the first 3 rounds. He's won me championships before, and I will stay loyal and recommend him to all. 23 goals from a defenseman is elite and a gamble I'm willing to take. Roman Josi at an ADP of 61. I mean, Nashville really crapped the bed from A to Z last year. Reminiscent of the New York Rangers at the beginning of the century. Get all these proven top guys just to fall flat face first. The funny thing is, I recommended to be patient on the Predators players at the beginning of the year because I thought it would take them 2-3 months to gel. 1 year later, here we are. I think Nashville's coming in healthy, embarrassed, and ashamed from a 30-win campaign which left them 30th out of 32 teams. To make matters worse, they got pushed back at the draft to pick number 5 and made the most head-scratching pick with Brady Martin. I could go on about this and the organization, but this is not why we're here, so let's get back to business. They have guys who have won it all in Marchessault, Ryan O'Reilly, Steven Stamkos, so I don't think it'll ever get as bad as what it was last year. Roman Josi went from being an above point per game player in the last 3 years to 38 points in 53 games with a horrible minus 26 differential. There is no competition on defense right now in Nashville, so Josi's quarterbacking the PP1 is safe. The Preds ranked 18th last year at 21.9%, and I see them upgrade that mark and be at least a top 12 team with the man advantage this season. Roman Josi should be an integral part of that resurgence, and I expect him to be back in the 65 to 75 point range. Fantasy Pros has him at number 55. NHL has him at 68, while Yahoo has him at 74. Good for D14. His ADP right now, like I said, is 61. Good for D11. This is good. This is good for us. Josi will be a top 10 defenseman if he stays healthy. I'm drafting Josi before Lane Hudson, before Jake Sanderson, and before Shea Theodore. In points leagues, I'm for sure drafting him before Mackenzie Weegar. His ADP, and if you did it right, really depends on how your drafts are going. Personally, I like Josi at his ADP and standards. Dougie Hamilton is just a few rows under Roman Josi. He's missed 80 games in the last 2 years. The main difference here is Dougie Hamilton has Luke Hughes pushing up behind him for the PP1 spot. And maybe not this year, but Simon Nemec eventually will become a minute cruncher as well. Hamilton's ADP of 73 is too early for me. His peripherals are really average for a number 1 defenseman, as he had only 74 hits and 85 blocks in 64 games. That's barely more than 1 per game with 40 points to go with it. That's a guy I might target between picks 90 and 110 if he's still around, and if the other GMs are going forward and goalie heavy. So at pick 73, it's a no for me. There are better options out there. And that's it for today, guys. I hope you guys like these draft advices I had for you. Remember, nobody can be 100% correct in previews and predictions, but what we can and should do is assess risk management. Keep your swings for the later rounds. Draft intelligently. If you hesitate between 2 players, lean in on the dual eligibility guy if it's an option. I'll tell you guys again, Tyler Seguin, last round pick, if you're able to. He's an elite last 2-round option right now who is injury prone, but he did go above a point per game last year and has 2 positions. Thank you for making it this far. If you like the content, click the like button, subscribe to our channel, and we'll be back for more content shortly. See you guys soon.